Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 6, Conversation between Narada and Vyasa, text number 30. Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Utthaya Idam Sisrikshataha Utthayedam Sisrikshataha Marichimishraha Rishayaha Marichimishra Rishayaha Pranebhyaha Aham Cha Janjire Jaggire Pranebhyo Aham Cha Jaggire Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Utthayedam Sisrikshataha Marichimishra Rishayaha Pranebhyoham Cha Jangire Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Utthayedam Sisrikshataha Marichimishra Rishayaha Pranebhyoham Cha Jagire Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Utthayedam Sisrikshataha Marichimishra Rishayaha Pranebhyoham Cha Jagire
Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Utthayedam Shishikshataha Marichi Mishra Rishayaha Pranebhyoham Cha Jagnire
Sahasra Yuga Paryante Utthayedam Sisrikshataha Marichi Mishra Rishayaha Pranebhyoham Cha Jagnire
Sahasra Yuga Paryante Utthayedam Sisrikshataha Marichi Mishra Rishayaha Pranebhyo Aham Cha Jagire
Sahasrayuga Pariyante Uttayedam Sisraksataha Marichi Mishra Rishaya Pranebhyoham Cha Jajnire
Yuga Pariyante Utthayedam Sishrataha Marichi Mishra Rishayaha Pranebhyoham Jagnire
Sahasra Yuga Pariyante Utthayedam Sataha Marichi Mishra Rishayaha
Pranebhyoham Cha Jagnire
Pranebhyoham Cha Jagnire
सहस्रयुगपर्यन्ते
सहस्रयुगपर्यन्ते
उत्तायेदं सुशिक्षतः
उत्थानशिक्षतः
मरीचिमिश्रार्षयः
मरीचिमिश्रा ऋषयः
प्राणेभ्योऽहं च जज्ञिरे
प्राणेभ्योऽहं च जज्ञे. Anybody online? सहस्रयुगपर्यन्ते उत्थायेदं शिशिक्षतः
ऋषयः
प्राणेभ्योऽहं
सजगिरे
गिरे सहस्रयुगपर्यन्ते उत्थायेदं शिशिक्षतः
मरीचिमिश्रा
ऋषयः प्राणेभ्योऽहं च जज्ञिरे. Synonyms: Sahasra,
सहस्र
1000,
1000
Yuga,
Yoga
4,300,000 years.
4 trillion
So
300
4,300,000 years.
4 million
4? 4,300,000,000 years. Is it? Correct. 4.3 million years.
3 million years
Pariyante,
Paryante
at the end of the duration.
the end duration
Utthaya,
Uthaya
having expired.
having expired Idam this
Sisrikshataha,
Shishikshataha
desired to create again.
desire to create again
Marichi Mishraha,
Marichi Mishraha
rishis like Marichi.
Marishis like Marichi
Rishayaha,
Shayaha
all the rishis.
all the rishis
Pranebhyaha,
Pranebhyaha
out of his senses.
out of his senses
Aham,
Aham
I.
I
Cha,
Cha
also.
also
Jagnire,
Jagnire
appeared.
appeared.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Translation: after 4,300,000,000,000 solar years, is it correct? 4.3 billion solar years, Brahma awakes to create again by will of the Lord, and all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on are created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appear along with them. Translation with repetition. After 4.3 billion solar years,
After 4.3 billion solar years,
Brahma awakes to create again
when Brahma woke to create again
by will of the Lord,
by the will of the Lord,
and all the rishis
and all the rishis
like Marichi, Angira, Atri,
like Marichi, Angira, Atri,
and so on
and so on
are created from the transcendental body of the Lord,
are created from the transcendental body of the Lord,
and I also appear along with them.
and I also appear along with them.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The duration of a day in the life of Brahma is 4 trillion? Huh? 4.32. Is it same? Okay. Is it the same there? Okay, so 4.3. The duration of the day in the life of Brahma is 4.3 billion solar years. This is stated also in the Bhagavad-Gita. So for this period, Brahmaji rests in Yoga Nidra within the body of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the generator of Brahma. Thus, after the sleeping period of Brahma, when there is again creation by the will of the Lord, through the agency of Brahma, all the great rishis again appear from different parts of the transcendental body, and Narada also appears. This means that Narada appears in the same transcendental body, just as a man awakes from sleep in the same body. Sri Narada is eternally free to move in all parts of the transcendental and material creations of the Almighty. He appears and disappears in his own transcendental body, which is without distinction of body and soul, unlike conditioned beings. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. There was a king by name Kakudmi, and this king Kakudmi had a very beautiful, qualified daughter who was of the age of, who was marriageable. So Kakudmi, using his intelligence, made a list of people who can be ideal husband for his daughter. And he made a list, and then he decided who can be the best person who can help me in selecting the right person for my daughter. And he thought none other than Brahma. So he goes to Lord Brahma, and Brahma was busy hearing to some musical performance by some Gandharvas. So they asked Kakudmi to wait there for a few minutes. Kakudmi thought, okay, no problem, let me wait there. He waited there for 25 minutes. 25 minutes just goes, or class is like half of the class. Then he was invited to meet Brahma. And when he met Brahma, Brahma started laughing. Said, you have made a list of these people whom you want to meet. Unfortunately, not just these people, their generation, the next generation, the next generation, their next generation, their next generation, all of them are dead and gone. You have to find a new list. So Kakudmi was shocked. By the way, the daughter of Kakudmi is Revati, who got married to Lord Balaram afterwards. But interestingly, when Kakudmi came 25 minutes, and when he came down to earth, it is mentioned the whole atmosphere was changed, and it was not the same conducive environment as it used to be when he was earlier there before meeting Brahma for God realization, and he was shocked. Of course, Brahma was laughing for that. What we can understand from this story is how relative and how insignificant our life is. Right? That's why in the 8th chapter, I'm trying to get that verse, 17th verse, the same verse is given where it is mentioned, Sahasra Yuga Pariyantam Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Te Aho Ratra Vidojanaha. The duration of life of Brahma is fabulous, right? And we know all the one Divya Yuga or 4 yugas put together, the duration of that is 43 lakhs, roughly, 43 lakhs years. And out of this 43 lakhs years, 1/10 is Kali Yuga, 2/10 is Dwapara Yuga, 3/10 is Tretya Yuga, and 4/10 is Satya Yuga. And in this huge lifespan, that's just one Divya Yuga, 1,000 such Divya Yugas is one day of Brahma, and 1,000 such Divya Yugas is one night of Brahma. But look at our position or conditioning in this material world, what we think of us. We think we are big people. We have a lot of things to do in life. We have a huge mountain of false ego where we think we are big achievers. We can do a lot of things. We don't need to care about anything. I am the controller of all I survey. That mentality is very strong and deeply ingrained, deeply rooted. Sometimes I wonder these ants which crawl here in the main temple hall, and you just put your finger, they change their direction and go. But imagine if the ant thinks, ant also will be thinking like that my life is so important, it's so big. I have to do some things. I have to. The psychology is not any different because conditioned living entity who has accepted a body in this material world thinks in this manner: I am the Lord. I am the most powerful. I am the controller. I can take care of everything in this life. We are so deeply absorbed. But look at the relativity of things. In not even a fraction of second of Brahma's life, we are all over. Not even a fraction is actually a very big estimate. Our existence is over. So in this insignificant life that we have, we feel so proud, we have issues, we have grudges. Oh, he told me like that. He didn't tell me that there is services. I will not come for service. Or somebody if is not spoken properly, he feels so much anger inside, so much resentment, so much of frustration. Why did he talk to me like this? And we don't take up to this devotional life or whatever it is. We carry that the rest of our life, which we think is a very big thing. 100 years I'm going to live, and in that 100 years I'm going to I'll carry this, and I'll wait for an opportunity where I can take revenge. Now, actually we need to see how relative life is. How much life we have, how much of life is gone, how much life is gone, we know that. How much of life is remaining, we have no idea. But the kind of arrogance, the kind of pride, the kind of envy, the kind of the jealousy, the kind of frustration, the kind of all these things that we carry, they're all symptoms of how deeply we are ingrained in this material absorption, material consciousness. I want to read a letter which Prabhupada had written to one devotee by name Shrutadev in Vrindavan. The letter was written on 30th October 1976. Very powerful letter. And the whole point of discussion is, of course, it is mentioned about Narada Muni, why he's coming out of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu, and how his body is different compared to any one of us who are forced to accept different bodies. He comes out in his transcendental body, and the reason why he is coming out of his transcendental body is because his insignificant life has become significant. The life that we have been given, the existence that we have in this material world is really insignificant. But what is it that we can do so that our insignificant life can become significant? Actually, one of the things that we need to understand is a life becomes significant when we understand the insignificance of our life. Prabhupada says in one place, if we understand how insignificant, how tiny we are, how powerless we are, then we will realize, but that doesn't come often. Go to people who are, especially now when I interact with people here, people who have come from India. Okay, now there is a first I'm in the US, man. So what I got to do, I got to wear some shorts. It's summertime. I don't wear all this. That's all typically Indians. You wear some pant shirt, and I have to wear shorts because I have to look like an American. What else? Well, I'm in America. I earn in dollars. So I go to some Walmart. I go to some Target. I shop there, whatever I feel like. One person was telling, the moment I go to Costco, my per visit the expenses is about $750. I just don't get this. So my life, why I have to worry about all these things, spirituality, God consciousness, this doesn't ring a bell. There's no need. And first of all, I'm based on my own ability, based on my capability and power, intelligence. I have come here and I have been working here and I am taking care of everything. Why should I depend on anything? Or what is the meaning? What is the need to make my life significant? Prabhupada writes this letter, coming back to the context. This is a devotee who has been practicing Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada writes, if you want to stay in Krishna consciousness, you will have to develop firm faith in Guru and Shastra. Therefore, you must study my books very scrutinizingly, follow the 4 regulative principles very strictly, and chant 16 rounds, avoiding the 10 offenses. Don't take this moment as something cheap. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, in his entire life, probably would have not used a single word unnecessarily. That's the beauty of a pure devotee. Every word that they use, every single sentence that they say has very powerful meaning. Don't take this moment as something cheap. Right? This is the last line of the letter. Forget about people who do not know about the moment. People like us who are aspiring devotees, we also take it cheaply. If we look in our own life, if it is when it comes to pursuing our career, taking care of our children, education, or other important things like buying house, car, and all those things, how serious we are, how much we go to the fine details, how much we go to the last thing so that everything is taken care of. Oh, my children, my trip, my this thing, my house, nothing should go wrong. But when it comes to spiritual life, when it comes to doing devotional service, we think we can do it after retirement. We think that we have a lot of time. What we don't realize, what Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, what our acharyas are repeatedly trying to say, that we are at every moment being engulfed by the representation of the Lord in the form of time. Nobody can deny that. We fail to understand that there are these two things called Jara and Vyadhi, which are engulfing us. Sometimes in these old movies you see that the villains, they would like to give some punishment to someone. So they will call, like I remember Mr. India maybe in the first few minutes of the movie, when Mogambo is introduced, there are two people who are brought, some Indian scientists who have done some discovery or something, and they were not ready to cooperate with Mogambo. They will be standing in front of Mogambo, and then suddenly he does something, or there was a switch or something, and the place where they were standing, it'll become, it was a slider, and it'll become open, and there was a hot water which was boiling, and they'll just go inside that. And when they go inside, they go very slowly. Slowly they'll go. When slowly means in movie, it's not like really slow, but they're going slowly. And after some time, you see that dead bodies are there. Not dead body, the skeleton. Like that, actually, we are constantly under the jaws of time. We are being engulfed. We see the symptoms of this manifesting in our own life when you see your beard starts becoming white, or the hair starts becoming white, or the body starts showing so many symptoms. This is not right. Somebody starts developing some pain which was unseen, unheard of, or some things. We brush it aside. We think, no, in my life, everything is fine. Somehow or other, I have to remain cool, I have to remain young, I have to be in tune, especially in this country. What's the big deal? Nice weather, everybody is enjoying, let me also go out and enjoy. We continue like that. And we are actually in such a precarious situation, we are not able to foresee that our time is coming to an end. Recently, when recently means last year, when I had gone to India, there was one devotee who quit his body, right? Krishna Saka Prabhu. Very young, very nice devotee who's been there in the movement for 21 years, had some problem with the kidney, and we were all there at the final moment. When seeing death in a very close quarters, and realizing that someone is so vulnerable in this world is a very big realization. What happens is we take it for granted. We take it for granted that we're going to live it for a long, long time and have a lot of things to do and have so many issues to settle. I have got my aspirations to fulfill. I want to become successful. I want to become powerful. I'll have more money, and with that money, I'll do anything. But these are all going to be destroyed. Huge Force of the Lord. It's a law. The Lord appears in the form of time, and it makes one person humble. We hear it, we read it, our acharyas tell it, but it doesn't strike us. It doesn't ring a bell. We still think my family, my society, my body, I have to protect this. I have to take care of this till the last breath of my life. This is my responsibility. I'm meant to do this. This is why I have been born. And we continue our life. Little do we realize that all of a sudden it can come. So the reason I was mentioning about Krishna Sakha Prabhu, I was, that time I heard from one of his relatives, there was another, their whole family is devotees. They are all devotees. So one person was mentioning that they have a very strange disease. One person was suffering from a strange disease where, the body becomes numb starting from the toe, from the fingers of the feet. So gradually, it's a weird disease where, the body which is becoming numb is moving up. So first the feet, then there'll be the ankle, then the leg, then probably the knees, then the thighs, and when it comes to the heart, the person will die. He just can't do anything. Recently, Prabhu had visited, and there is one devotee to London. There was one sannyasi who said, is the beginning of the end, right? It's a terminal cancer. We hear of people that when they come to their final stage, the body shrinks. It becomes completely emancipated. But the same person at some point in time was having a healthy, strong body with a lot of vigor, vitality, doing things, proving things, and busy with all these things. But any moment, anything can happen. See, look at the powerful illusion of the Lord. Very strong, very strong. The illusion of the Lord is to make us, to keep us busy in things which are not important to us. That is why the definition of bhayam, which is given in Bhagavatam, is bhayam dityabhi niveshataha. Very powerful definition. Bhayam dityam abhiniveshataha. Dityam is secondary. So when an abhiniveshataha, you are absorbed. Like somebody is busy doing some research, somebody is doing something, some material activity which is thinking is very important in life. And by doing that activity, by taking care of their children, by taking care of the duties, he would achieve probably like Parambir Chakra or something in life. If I do all of these things properly, 100%, then I'll be recognized for these things. Bhayam ditya bhiniveshata. And when you are completely absorbed in something secondary, and that is slipped away, that is taken away, and there is fear. And that fear makes us realize, my God, this is all temporary. It comes, but unfortunately, when we want to experience it ourselves and wait till that moment, it is too late. That is why our Shastras are telling right now, don't delay this. Nobody in this world can say for sure I'm going to live for this much time. Nobody. Doesn't matter how strong, how rich, how affluent, how powerful you are. Nobody knows. So how do we make our life significant? What can we do? Very interestingly, we have to see Prabhupada's purports very carefully. One of the verses which we read some time back in this conversation between Narada and Vyasa, which Stoka Maharaj had told us to memorize the purport word by word. Every word in that purport should be memorized. And this verse just went by. I just want to again bring back the memory of that verse. This is 1.6.25. Now this verse, it says, Krishna says, this is spoken by Narada. Narada Muni is telling, Etavad uktva upararama tanmahad bhutam navolingam alingam ishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shirshna avanamam vidadhe anukampitaha. This verse is so powerful, and as because otherwise, a devotee will not tell us to memorize the purport word by word. Etabad uktva upararama tanmahad bhutam nabholingam alingam ishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shirshna vananam vidadhe anukampitaha. Translation is, then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. Now, this is happening in the series of events where the Lord has appeared and then the Lord disappeared. And Narada Muni was Athura, who was very eager, very desperate that the Lord has disappeared. He tried the same process. The Lord didn't appear, and the Lord spoke. And the Lord spoke, and then the Lord stopped speaking. When Lord has stopped speaking, this is what Narada Muni is telling, that then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. Let's see the purport. Why Maharaj says that we should remember each word in this purport. It's 4-5 lines only. That the personality of Godhead was not seen but only heard does not make any difference. The personality of Godhead produced the 4 Vedas by his breathing, and he is seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas. Similarly, the Bhagavad-Gita is the sound representation of the Lord, and there is no difference in identity. The conclusion is that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistently chanting the transcendental sound. Now, see this purport. I read it, but so much of information is there in this. If you just pay attention to the last line of the purport, the conclusion is, so this is a conclusion which Prabhupada is writing, that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistently chanting the transcendental sound. Pay attention to the word persistently chanting. The conclusion is that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistently chanting the transcendental sound. This cannot be done occasionally, casually, cheaply. We cannot take it like, luxuriously. We have a luxury of time whenever we want. I can postpone. If that insignificant life that we have, which is like a split second of Brahma's life, and we want to make it significant, the only way we can make it significant is if somehow or other we realize or we establish our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only significant thing in this life. Nothing else. Nothing else, because everything else will be destroyed by the force of time. Fully. It is guaranteed. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how much of confidence you exhibit or how much of arrogance you have or whatever it is. It'll all be wiped away. As Bhagavad-Gita says, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara bimudhatma kartaham iti manyata. I may consider I have done big things. I have achieved. I am a CEO. I am something. I have 3 houses, 5 cars, 20 children, whatever. But it's all will be wasted. 20 children, whatever. So here, Prabhupada is saying the conclusion is that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistently chanting the transcendental sound. Now, this purport, when you have to remember and realize and take this message of Krishna, Narada Muni, Bhagavatam seriously, it doesn't strike us that one has to chant persistently. Persistent chanting the transcendental sound. Where is that persistent? For us, even 16 rounds with so much of difficulty, when it is done, we feel so much of relief. So much relief. 16 rounds for today is over, and that's all. But where is the question of persistently seeing, persistently hearing, persistently chanting? Then you have to see another verse which is there in 1st Canto, 16th chapter, 9th verse. 116.9. And this verse, when you see it in conjunction with this particular verse that we are talking about today, Nabholingam Alingam, 169 in the purport, actually Prabhupada mentions something very, very powerful thing Prabhupada mentions. He says that this human form is a special gift of material nature in the course of her enforcing stringent laws of miseries upon the living being. It is a chance to achieve the highest boon of life. What is the highest boon? Namely, to get out of the entanglement of repeated birth and death. The intelligent take care of this important gift by strenuously endeavoring to get out of the entanglement. So why persistent chanting is required? You see here Prabhupada is writing, the human form of life is a special gift of material nature. In the course of her enforcing, these are strong, stringent laws which are enforced. You cannot say somehow I'll escape. I'm some exception. The laws of nature may be acting on everybody else in this world, but I will do something by which I will be exempt from this. No exception to this. The human form of life is a special gift of material nature in the course of her enforcing stringent laws of miseries upon the living being. It is a chance to achieve the highest boon of life, namely to get out of this entanglement of repeated birth and death. The intelligent take care of this important gift by strenuously endeavoring to get out of this. The word strenuously endeavor is very, very important to contemplate. Unless we are ready to put strenuous endeavor, then there is not going to be any reciprocation from the Lord. Even our material pursuits, whatever we want to achieve in material world, are achieved by persistent and strenuous endeavor. Then what to speak of spiritual pursuits? In Brahma Samhita, there is a verse which comes. He says, Pramanais tad sad achares tad abhyasayar nirantaram bodhayan atmanatmanam bhaktim api utamam labhet. This is Brahma Samhita 59, which we don't chant when we chant our Brahma Samhita verses, but this is there. You can see the translation of this in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's book. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees. It's not like everything can be realized at one go, but by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence. You can't do it whimsically. Theistic conduct and perseverance in practice. Very strong perseverance in practice is required. To practice strongly, if you have to practice this, of course you can say that I can hear, I will make notes, I will do everything. But if I don't practice, everything that I hear, everything that I make notes, or everything that I'm trying to achieve will be of no use. It's extremely important to put it in practice. That is why this is called strenuously endeavoring, persistently chanting. One of the things that we should pay attention to this verse when we are saying, and why our acharyas and devotees say that it's a very important verse. When it comes to giving solution, or when we ask our devotees that we have all these material problems and miseries, what is the solution? What do you think is the answer? What do the devotees say usually? Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Even if when it comes to telling the outsiders, when they ask for some solution, we say chant Hare Krishna and things will be all right. We say that chant Hare Krishna, it will be all right, but how do we understand this? Actually, this verse gives a clue. There are two words which are used here. Bhutam, Nabholingam, Alingam. Nabholingam, Alingam. It's a fact that we can't see the Lord in our naked eyes. That's why when people ask, Alingam, show me the God, we can't show him. But what we don't realize that Narada Muni is using this word, Nabholingam. Nabholingam means actually the Lord can be perceived. He's present in the form of a person, in the form of sound. What is the exact? Personified by sound. So the Lord can be present before us in the form of sound. The same Lord, Krishna, can be present. He is present in the form of sound. This is something which we need to know. Maybe the karmis, the materialistic people, they don't know. They can't see. But we should have strong conviction, Nabholingam, that the Lord is manifesting himself in the form of sound. In ordinary our material perception, if we see something that is different from hearing something about it, it is not the same. We saw one object, but we have not seen that object, we heard about the object. They're not the same. Like, for example, somebody who has not come to the US, he heard about that the US is like this, so many things are there, high-rise buildings are there, so many such things are there. But somebody who is seeing, it is different. But in case of the Lord, this is the beauty. Seeing about him and hearing about him doesn't make any difference. Fortunately, like the sky, the ether, where sound is present everywhere, the Lord personally manifests in this sound form. That is why it is all pervading. Doesn't matter which part of the world you are in. You can still be in touch with the Lord just by hearing, by producing this sound. Bhutam, Nabholingam, Alingam, Ishwaram. This conviction we should have strongly. That is why this verse is so important. I was thinking if there is another name that we could have thought of, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, any other name. Could have been International Society for Nabholingam Consciousness, because our whole movement is about this chanting. But this word is very important word. So coming back to where we were, I was talking about how insignificant our life is. And the first step is, if we realize the insignificance of our life, it's a step towards becoming significant. And the real, as Prabhupada mentions in various places in our scriptures, say, if we realize the relationship that we have with the Lord, and we make some concrete steps, we take some concrete steps and make some advancement in re-establishing that relationship, that is the real significant thing. Otherwise, there is nothing in this world which is permanent. One question comes, okay, the process also we saw, Nabholingam, Alingam, by taking up to this process of persistent chanting, by strenuously endeavoring, all these things. One question which comes is, how do we know that we are making progress? Or where do I see those symptoms? What can I do? How do I know? And how do I develop that faith more and more? So the answer is given actually in Bhagavad-Gita, in all the scriptures, that the real well-wisher, the best well-wisher friend that we have is the Lord who is seated in our heart as Paramatma. Which verse in Bhagavad-Gita talks about the Lord in the heart? Suhridam Sarvabhutana, but in the heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedischa sarver aham eva vedyam vedanta krit vedavid cha aham. But the other one is Brahmayan yantra rudhani. So the Lord is, what is that? Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridyasya arjuna tishtati. Brahmayan yantra rudhani. Yantra rudhani maya. So the point is, the Lord is actually seated in our heart. And the characteristics of the Lord who is seated in our heart is, he never betrays us. We have so many friends, so many relationships in this material world whom we count, they can cheat us. They can leave us in the middle and go. But the Lord is so compassionate, so merciful, and the real well-wisher, he's there in our heart always. He'll never cheat. And he gives this assurance. You forget about Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Rajam. Don't worry. Don't worry about all these things. Just surrender to me. Now, just to conclude this part of the Lord who is seated in our heart, how he can reciprocate, it is important to know how the Lord reciprocates, or what does the Lord do so that a person, we can see or feel the reciprocation of the Lord. For that, there is one verse which comes in 3rd Canto, 9th chapter, 11th verse by Brahma. When his prayers, he is mentioning, "O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing. and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are merciful to your devotees, that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. The Lord is seated in our heart, but there is so much of contamination. There is so much of the consciousness is so much clouded. We are not able to perceive Him. So Brahma's prayers, that's why it's so important. Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the years. They can see you through the years. Nabholingam, alingam. You can't see it through eyes. They can see it through the years by the process of bona fide hearing. And thus their hearts become cleansed. The heart needs to be cleansed. And you take your seat there. Then you can realize the Lord who's seated in the heart. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. In fourth canto, there is this story which comes of Puranjana, right, where it's our own body with the 9 holes. And Narada Muni is giving this, he's explaining this to Prachina Barihisat. And while giving this story of Puranjana, who was attached to his body, and finally Jara and Vyadhi, it comes and it destroys this body, the city of 9 gates. It was being destroyed by Kala, all these things is there. Puranjana actually takes birth as a girl next time, and she marries to a husband, Malayadhwaja, who was a devotee. If you do, it's a long story. It's a wonderful story actually about our own life, depicted in the form of this allegory or this simile, which is given by Narada Muni. In that, towards the end, Malayadhwaja, when he is lying dead, his wife is lamenting. Malayadhwaja was a devotee, and in association of this devotee, Puranjana, who was earlier Puranjana, now has become a girl, now is a wife, and she is lamenting that my husband is dead. Very interestingly, there it is mentioned, the Paramatma appears as a Brahmana. In that narration, it is mentioned that the Paramatma appears as a Brahmana, and the Brahmana inquires to that girl, saying that, who are you? Whose wife or daughter are you? Who's the man lying here? It appears you are lamenting for this dead body. Don't you recognize me? I am your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you have consulted me. So there is a wonderful purport to this purport, to this verse, very beautiful purport by Prabhupada. How we can hear the voice of the Lord or the Super Soul who's seated in our heart. Yesterday when Prabhu was explaining that verse, Rasoham apsu kaunteya pravasme sasi surayaha pranava sarva vedeshu sabdake paurusham nushu. In that verse, I was asking this question that how a materialistic person can perceive this, that Krishna is the taste of water, or he is the light of sun and moon. The reason I was having that question or doubt was, nowadays in the evening we are chanting these verses of Sukadev Goswami, Sukadev Goswami's prayers. If you carefully pay attention to the prayers that we are chanting, there is one prayer which comes, which easy to remember. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yad ikshanam. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yad ikshanam. Yad vandanam, yat shravanam, yad arhanam. Lokasya sadyo vidhunoti kalmasham. Tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. So the kirtanam, smaranam, vandanam, shravanam, arhanam about the Lord is very auspicious. It is so auspicious that lokasya sadyo vidhunoti kalmasham. In our heart, whatever kalmasha is there, it will get vanquished. It will get cleansed. Tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to him. If you carefully see that verse, there is a word which is used called ikshanam. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yad ikshanam. And the word-to-word translation of that is audience. Kirtanam, all of us we know what is kirtanam, right? Kirtanam is glorification. Smaranam, we know, remembrances. What is audience? Ikshanam. Very interestingly, why I brought that. Ikshanam is audience. Vandanam, anyway, we all know. It's Vandanam is prayers. Shravanam is there. Somebody may say it is audience is Shravanam, but there is a word Shravanam. Shravanam is hearing. Arhanam is there, worshipping. All these words we know, but there is a Ikshanam. Yat Kirtanam, Yat Smaranam, Yat Ikshanam. Ikshanam, in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that it is perceiving the Lord. Perceiving the Lord in this material world. Actually, if we can perceive the Lord in this material world and we realize our position with Him, we are eternal. Even though I am tiny, significant, 1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair, but I am still eternal. This body, this kala, this cannot destroy me. And I'm always there in Lord's protection. Then I have nothing to worry about. On one side, we saw that we are under the jaws of kala. Bhagavad-Gita also in Krishna mentions Daivihi Yasha Gunamai, right? Daivihi Yasha Gunamai Mamamaya Duratyaya. It's insurmountable. Nobody has ever been able to succeed in this. You cannot be successful. So to understand that Maya is powerful is a first step. It's a very, we have no strength. There is no comparison. It's like one side you have one sumo wrestler and another side you have Madhav. And you are expecting Madhav to win. This is like, or something like that. Maybe a African gigantic elephant and one ant on one side, and they want to fight. And we are cheering for the ant, right? So it's impossible. But the hope is, what is that? Daivi Yasha Gunamai Mamamaya Durateya. Mameba ye prapadyante maya metam tarandite. The hope is when we have Krishna with us. The hope is when we surrender our life to Krishna. When we have held the finger of the Lord, Supreme Lord. Like a child who holds the finger of his father and feels fearless in this, in this jaws of kala, in the jaws of death also we can feel fearless. So this Ikshanam, coming back to the point that the Brahmana was asking to Puranjana, who was a lady, there he mentions that I am your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you have consulted me. In the purport, Prabhupada says something very, very interesting actually. Consultation with the super soul seated within everyone's heart is possible only when one is completely free from the contamination of material attachment. Why we don't often hear the Supreme Lord's voice? We know that He is my biggest well-wisher and I need to follow His instructions seriously. It is mentioned, it is evident and it is imperative that I should do this. But I'm not able to do. That's the reason being when one is completely free from the contamination of material attachment. Unless one is completely free, he'll not be able to hear the super soul seated within the heart. Then Prabhupada is mentioning one who is sincere and pure gets an opportunity to consult with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature sitting within everyone's heart. The Paramatma is always the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within, and he comes before one externally as the instructor and initiated spiritual master. The Lord can reside within the heart and he can also come out before a person and give him instructions. Thus the spiritual master is not different from the super soul sitting within the heart. An uncontaminated soul or living entity can get a chance to meet the Paramatma face to face. So much of stress is given about this contamination in the heart to go. Unless the heart's contamination is an uncontaminated soul or living entity can get a chance to meet the Paramatma face to face. One has to become sincere and pure. Just as one gets a chance to consult with the Paramatma within his heart, one also gets a chance to see him actually situated before him. Then one can take instructions from the super soul directly. This is the duty of the pure devotee, to see the bona fide spiritual master and consult with the super soul within the heart. So, there is one side, the temporariness, the fleeting nature of material existence, but our illusion, which is so deep rooted, where we are absorbed in our material things. No time, no priority for spiritual life, or we take it casually. We believe that I have the luxury of time. I can do it when I retire, or whenever everything is done, that time I'll take up. And it is just a split second of Brahma's life, very relative, but we are so attached, so engrossed. That's how the fear comes. And somebody, when it slips away from our feet, we get that fear. That sensation of fear is actually good. Many times people don't feel that also. So in that small, insignificant life, if we have to make it significant, then the only way it is possible is by knowing that we all have our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. We are His part and parcel, and reviving that relationship is the only significant thing that we can do in this life to make our life significant. And the process for that is Nabholingam Alingam. By knowing that the Lord, by persistently chanting, by strenuously endeavoring in this process, we can perceive the Lord. And to repeatedly get that direction from the Lord who's seated in our heart, we have to ensure that our heart gets constantly cleansed or purified. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So this persistent chanting, beyond the chanting of 16 rounds, for the remaining time, how do we do persistent chanting?
Yeah, so it's not just about chanting Hare Krishna. Also, Prabhupada is writing that, and he's seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas, right? By his breathing, and he's seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas. Similarly, the Bhagavad-Gita is the sound representation of the Lord, and there is no difference in identity. If we are not able to do, like, if that's the fact is, the reality is we are not in a stage like Haridas Thakur where we can chant constantly. But at least if we are taking these books which are written by Prabhupada, especially Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam, seriously and read and absorb ourselves, that is as good as chanting. So persistent chanting, can be achieved by augmenting our chanting of prescribed rounds with reading and memorizing these verses of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Sheshu? Any questions? No question. How many rounds chanting? Persistent chanting. Mind you, there is one thing which I saw recently in one of the books that I was reading, or probably in the conversation. When a husband does any spiritual activity, suppose you advance, you start chanting 16 rounds. 50% of your spiritual credit goes to your wife. But if it is the other way around, wife makes advancement. 16 rounds, 32 rounds, 64 rounds, you get 0. It's not to, the point is, each one of us, we have to take care of our own life, spiritual life. The purport in one of the places Prabhupada mentions that it is like driving the aeroplane, and the airplane, where you are the only pilot. You can see that others are also going, and they are in control apparently. You may be struggling, or you may be disturbed. The help is available on the ground, where spiritual master's instructions are there. You can follow it, you can understand, you can learn, and you can take off. But once you take off, you are on your own. Nobody will help you. So like that, when the moment of death comes, no matter who you are, and how many people or devotees or how many relatives are surrounding you, that journey you have to travel alone. You will be accountable for all your actions. So unknowingly whiling away time is not good. That's exactly what our scriptures are telling. And this is a very small life we have. To make sense, to perfect it, we need to engage in devotional service seriously, ourselves, not my family members only. Hope that makes sense.
Prabhu, you have mentioned about the contaminations, like once we get rid of the contaminations within our heart, then we will be able to see Paramatma. So this persistent chanting and doing devotional service, other than that, like what one should take care to get rid of that contaminations and how to practice that?
See the Bhagavad-Gita 7.1. Now we are doing the 7th chapter, right? The first verse, Tat Shrunu, what is it? Asamsayam samagram mam yatha gyansyasi tat shrunu. The first line, Maya sakta manopartha yogam yunjan madashraya. Asamsayam samagram mam yatha gyansyasi tat shrunu. So we have a lot of doubts. Maya sakta manahpartha yogam yunjan madashraya asamsayam. Asamsayam is free from doubts. Samagram, in knowing the Lord in totality, in truth. Yatha gyansyasi tat shrunu. You hear what is that process. And in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada explains about those 5 verses of Bhagavatam. What is that? Shravata swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridayantastho hi avadrani vidhunoti surhutsatam. Hridayantastho hi avadrani vidhunoti surhutsatam. If there is a simplest thing that has been given to you, you cannot go back and ask, is there any simpler thing than that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding the frailties of Kali Yuga, the imperfections of Kali Yuga and the limitations of people who are born in this Kali Yuga, has given us the simplest method of chanting, of hearing. Shrinvatah Swakatha Krishna, there is no simpler thing than this. Earlier days, if you see, the kind of processes which were recommended are very difficult. So there is no negotiation on that. The same 5 verses are also quoted by Prabhupada when he landed here in Boston, right, in the Commonwealth Pier, that song, Bada Kripa Koile Krishna. In that, he says that, these people who are so much in mode of passion and ignorance, how will they take up to this message of Krishna? And then he quotes this verse. Shrinvata Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto hi avadrani vidhunoti srotsatam. And then Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seva, and so on and so forth. After that verses are quoted, he says Dhira Haya. So if somebody hears this, he'll become sober. If somebody hears this, he will not be agitated. What does this contamination in heart means? That means we are still having materialistic goals and aspirations, or we want to achieve something in material world. We want to enjoy this material world, and we are agitated and disturbed. That's what the contaminations means. But if somebody takes up to this process of hearing, bona fide hearing like Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam regularly, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, then Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Naishtiki Bhakti will come, but Prabhupada says one becomes dhira. What is that song do you have? Dhira hai sunya. A person becomes dhira. That means he's free. He's getting free from this modes of material nature or the lower modes of nature, especially passion and ignorance. Then a person becomes dhira. Even people who had no idea about Krishna, when they started hearing, what Prabhupada started doing was just chanting. That had so much of impact that they gave up all their bad habits. So why we can't do this? We can definitely do. What we lack is, we lack the sincerity, we lack the purity, and we don't take it seriously that my life is insignificant. We don't think about it, or we think that we have a lot of time, so we take it casually. But it has to be done tivrena bhakti yogena, and this is the only process. And this is as in that purport we were seeing, this is the only chance where you can come out of this entanglement of birth and death. That seriousness nobody can give you. I can't put that seriousness through an injection into you. That strenuous endeavoring, persistent chanting, one has to realize, my God, so much time have already gone. I don't know. And if I don't take it seriously, as if I don't take care of this plane of mine, myself, who else is going to do? Nobody can do. So then automatically a person becomes serious. Automatically he becomes focused. Automatically he becomes aligned to Krishna's plan. Okay, we'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand